The Last Goodbye, Yu Menglong's final journey to Uremy, full ceremony. Silence fell before the first tear did. At exactly 6:17 a.m., the gates opened. No announcement. No music. Just the sound of footsteps echoing against cold stone as a black convoy slowly rolled forward. Cameras shook. Hands trembled. Millions watching online held their breath. This was not just a farewell. This was history in mourning. This was Yu Menglong's final journey to Uremy. Some goodbyes don't end a life, a narrator whispered. They awaken a legacy. Uremy was not chosen by accident. To the world, it was a destination. To Yu Menglong, it was a return. Long before the fame, before the cameras, before the applause. Uremy represented quiet, identity, and unfinished promises. According to those closest to him, Yu once said, "If I ever disappear from the noise of the world, let the mountains remember me." Those mountains stood waiting. The night before the ceremony, something extraordinary happened. At exactly 11:43 p.m., lights inside the memorial hall flickered, not once, but 3 times. Staff froze. Security guards exchanged glances. No one spoke. Then, softly, someone began humming. It was one of Yu Menglong's earliest unreleased melodies, a song only a handful of people had ever heard. No speakers were on. No music was scheduled. And yet, the sound carried. By morning, the video of that moment had already reached 12 million views. Authorities expected thousands. They got hundreds of thousands. From students to elderly fans, from actors to ordinary workers, from people who never shared a language but shared a feeling, they came. Some had traveled for 3 days. Some brought letters written years ago. Some brought nothing but silence. A woman collapsed in tears and whispered, "He helped me survive a year I didn't think I would." Every flower was white. Not for death, but for truth. White in this ceremony symbolized a honesty without noise. A love without conditions. A grief without performance. No red. No gold. No spectacle. Just truth in its quietest form. At 9:02 a.m., as the procession began, something happened that no one planned. A child, no older than 7, stepped forward from the crowd. Security moved instantly, but stopped. The child placed a small paper crane on the path and said, "My mom said he teaches people how to be kind." The video reached 50 million views in 24 hours. Comments flooded in. "Oh, I can't stop crying. Oh, this doesn't feel like acting. This feels real. Why does this hurt like I knew him?" There were no red carpets. No stylists. No speeches written by teams. Actors arrived in plain black coats. Some wore masks, not to hide from cameras, but to hide tears. One well-known director was overheard saying, "We lost a voice that never shouted. And that's why it echoed so far." Then came the moment that changed everything. A sealed letter, written years earlier, was read aloud. It ended with these words, "If you are hearing this, please don't be angry at the silence I left behind. I trusted you to fill it with kindness." No applause followed. Only sobbing. As the procession moved through Uremy, something unexpected happened. People didn't chant. They didn't shout his name. They simply stood still. Traffic stopped. Shops closed. Even street vendors lowered their voices. For 12 minutes, an entire city moved at one heartbeat. Just as the ceremony reached its peak, clouds began to part. Sunlight broke through, briefly, dramatically, unmistakably. The timing was so precise that social media exploded with one phrase. The sky said goodbye. Whether coincidence or meaning, no one dared to joke. There was no speech at the end. Instead, a recording played, Yu Menglong's voice, calm and steady. "If you remember me, remember the way you felt when you believed in something good." Then silence. The kind that stays with you long after the video ends. This wasn't about loss. It was about connection. It reminded millions that fame fades. A noise disappears. A but quiet kindness survives. In 72 hours, the documentary-style clips passed 200 million views worldwide. Not because it was shocking, but because it was human. Some journeys end at a destination. Others begin there. Uremy was not the end of Yu Menglong's story. It was the place where the world finally listened. When the live stream ended, many thought it was over. They were wrong. Because the most powerful moments of Yu Menglong's final journey happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Workers began folding chairs. Journalists packed equipment. Security loosened the perimeter. And then, something unforgettable happened. People didn't leave. They stayed. No one told them to. No one organized it. They simply sat on the ground, shoulder to shoulder, staring at the path where the procession had passed, like they were afraid that if they stood up, the memory would vanish. One volunteer whispered into a walkie-talkie, "We're not controlling the crowd anymore. They're controlling themselves." Near the back of the square, an elderly man pulled out a small, scratched radio. At first, people thought it was broken. Then music played. It was one of Yu Menglong's earliest songs, never officially released, recorded during his unknown years. Someone asked the man where he got it. He replied, "He gave it to me on a train once. He said no one would listen anyway." The clip of that moment went viral overnight. Not because of the song, but because of the sentence that followed. "Looks like they're listening now." Security later confirmed something shocking. Among the flowers and letters was a sealed gift box, addressed not to Yu Menglong, but to everyone. Inside was a simple note. "Open this only when the noise fades." When opened hours later, the box contained nothing. No object. No letter. Just emptiness. And suddenly, people understood. The message wasn't inside the box. The message was the silence itself. At 2:14 a.m., a voice message began circulating online. It was time-stamped 3 years earlier. Yu Menglong's voice, clear, calm, unafraid. "If one day you're listening to this without me, please don't ask why I left. Ask why you stayed." Experts confirmed it hadn't been edited. Fans asked the same question everywhere. How did he know? Among those who remained long after midnight was a woman holding her son. The child kept asking, "Why is everyone sad if they loved him?" She replied softly, "Because loving someone doesn't stop the hurt. It makes it real." That single exchange, caught on a distant microphone, was replayed millions of times. A hotel worker later shared something chilling. The night before the ceremony, a guest checked into a room overlooking the square. The guest left before dawn. On the mirror, written in steam, were the words, "Thank you for walking with me." The room had been booked under no name. Security footage showed only a silhouette. The video was never officially released. But the rumor spread faster than any confirmation. People online began asking, "Why does this feel heavier than other goodbyes?" Psychologists weighed in. Fans debated. Creators analyzed. But one comment stood above all others. Because this goodbye wasn't asking us to remember him. It was asking us to remember ourselves. By the third day, something remarkable happened. Fans began making promises, not to Yu Menglong, but to each other. "I'll call my parents tonight. I'll be kinder to strangers. I'll stop postponing my dreams." This wasn't grief anymore. This was change. On the last night, snow fell lightly, unplanned, unpredicted. No one moved. Someone said quietly, "It's like the city is tucking him in." No one laughed. No one corrected them. After everything. After the flowers faded. After the crowds dispersed. After the headlines moved on. One thing remained. A feeling. The kind that doesn't trend. The kind that doesn't need proof. The kind that follows you home. This wasn't the end of Yu Menglong's final journey. At 3:33 a.m., a technician working for the documentary team noticed something strange. An unlabeled black hard drive had appeared inside a sealed equipment case, one that had already been checked and logged earlier that day. No fingerprints. No serial number. Just a small piece of masking tape with 3 handwritten words. "Play this last." When plugged in, the screen showed a single folder. Inside it, 12 audio files. None longer than 2 minutes. All dated across different years. The first audio file wasn't a speech. It wasn't a confession. It was a laugh. Soft. Unforced. Almost shy. Then Yu Menglong's voice. If you're listening to this, I hope you're not looking for answers. I never found them either. The room went silent. Because this didn't sound like the Yu Menglong the public knew. This sounded like someone free. Industry insiders later revealed something unsettling. Yu Menglong had recorded dozens of personal messages over the years, but refused to release them. He once said, "If people hear me when I'm quiet, they might stop listening when I'm loud." He didn't want sympathy. He didn't want mythology. He wanted timing. And somehow, he knew when that time would come. At 11:58 p.m., a post appeared online from an account that had been inactive for years. The username wasn't famous. But the message spread like wildfire. I promised him I wouldn't speak while he was alive. He said the truth sounds different when it's late. The post was signed with one word. Why? Fans quickly connected the dots. This was the friend who vanished from public view years ago. The one Yu Menglong called my mirror in a forgotten interview. The thread grew longer. But it never explained everything. Instead, it offered fragments. He wasn't running away. He wasn't afraid. He was tired of being translated. That last line hit hardest. Tired of being translated. Meaning. A misunderstood. A reshaped. A edited for comfort. For the first time, fans realized they may have known the image, not the person. The sixth audio file was different. No intro. No pause. Just Yu Menglong speaking directly. Uremy isn't a place. It's where I remember who I was before I learned how to perform. People listening felt something shift. This journey wasn't about death. It was about returning. The ninth recording was only 14 seconds long. It said, "If you ever feel invisible, remember, the quietest stars are still burning." That sentence alone was shared over 80 million times. Not because it was poetic, but because it felt personal. The team faced a choice. Release everything, or respect the pauses between words. They chose restraint. Only 3 recordings were made public. The rest were sealed, with instructions to be released years later, or never. One editor explained, "Some truths don't want to go viral. They want to grow slowly." Around midnight, a small group of fans began walking the exact route of the final procession, without cameras. No live streams. No hashtags. Just footsteps. Someone asked why. A young man replied, "Because some memories don't need witnesses." This part wasn't about mystery. It wasn't about secrets. It was about permission. Permission to be quiet in a loud world. Be real in a filtered one. Leave pieces of yourself unexplained. Yu Menglong didn't leave instructions. He left space. And now the case shifts. Because what happened after these recordings surfaced changed the way fans saw not just Yu Menglong, but their own lives. It happened without warning. At 1:47 a.m., while most of the world was asleep, a file appeared on a private forum used mainly by sound engineers and archivists. No title. No artist name. Just a file name. track_final_v3.wav. Within minutes, people realized something was different. This wasn't a demo. This wasn't a rehearsal. This was a finished song. And the voice was unmistakable. Yu Menglong. Those who listened all said the same thing. It doesn't sound like it was meant for us. The song had a no chorus, a no hook, a no build-up. Just a soft piano, long pauses, and words spoken more than sung. Industry insiders later revealed the truth. Yu Menglong had refused to release it, saying, "If this goes public, people will think I'm saying goodbye." He wasn't ready for that conversation. Maybe the world wasn't either. Halfway through the song, the music stopped. For 6 full seconds, there was only breathing. Then a single line. "Promise me you won't confuse silence with absence." That was it. No explanation. No resolution. Social media froze. People didn't comment. They reposted. They listened again. And again. Something unprecedented happened next. Major labels said nothing. No copyright strikes. No takedowns. No press releases. One executive later admitted anonymously. For once, it didn't feel right to interrupt. Radio stations refused to play it. Not because they couldn't. Because they felt they shouldn't. 3 days later, a producer who worked with Yu Menglong early in his career broke his silence. He posted one sentence. That song was recorded on a night he asked me to leave the studio lights off. Fans understood immediately. This wasn't a performance. It was a conversation with himself. Buried near the end of the track was a line most listeners missed on first play. If you ever hear this, it means I trusted you. Not loved you. Not thanked you. Trusted you. That distinction changed everything. In the next 24 hours, people shared stories instead of opinions. Comment sections turned into confessionals. Strangers replied to strangers with kindness. One trending post read, "I came for a song. I stayed because it felt like someone finally understood me." Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the song vanished. No explanation. No archive. Only those who had downloaded it still had access. People panicked. But others understood. Some things aren't meant to stay forever. They're meant to visit. The song didn't answer questions. It created honesty. People began asking themselves, what am I holding back? Who am I performing for? What would I say if no one was listening? Yu Menglong never asked for attention. He asked for reflection. This was the moment everything shifted. The case was no longer about a ceremony, a journey, a goodbye. It became about legacy. Not what he left behind, but what he awakened. It appeared quietly. No announcement. No headline. Just a screenshot, posted at 4:09 a.m., from an account with fewer than 300 followers. At first, people scrolled past it. Then they read the message. And everything changed. The message was short. Timestamped years earlier. Sent privately. It read, "If I ever become something people argue over, please remind them I was just trying to breathe." Within hours, the screenshot was everywhere. And for the first time since the ceremony, the internet didn't agree. The reaction split instantly. One side said, "This proves he was overwhelmed. He was asking for help. We didn't listen." The other side said, "This is private. We shouldn't be reading this. Stop turning him into a symbol." And suddenly, the silence that once united everyone fractured. Comment sections changed tone. People weren't sharing feelings anymore. They were defending interpretations. Some accused others of exploiting grief. Some accused silence of being cowardice. One viral comment read, "He asked for breath, not analysis." That line alone reignited the fire. Late that evening, the original poster returned. They wrote, "I didn't share this to explain him. I shared it to protect him. Please stop using his words as weapons." Then the account went private. No interviews. No follow-up. Just another door quietly closed. Buried beneath the arguments was a deeper fear. What if we loved the version of Yu Menglong that was easiest to carry, not the one that was real? That question made people uncomfortable. So they argued louder instead. Experts weighed in. Creators made hour-long videos. Think pieces multiplied. But something strange happened. The more people talked about Yu Menglong, the less they talked to each other. A fan wrote, "He brought us together by being quiet. Why are we honoring him by being loud?" Then, another letter surfaced. Handwritten. Undated. Confirmed authentic by those closest to him. It contained just 3 lines. "I don't need to be understood. I need to be left gentle. Please." No analysis followed. No debates. For almost 12 hours, the internet went quiet again. This wasn't about a leaked message. It was about ownership. Who owns a memory? Who owns a story? Who owns a life after it becomes public? Yu Menglong never gave answers. He gave reminders. And this reminder was uncomfortable for a reason. Something softened. People began apologizing to strangers. Threads turned into reconciliations. One comment stood out. Maybe honoring him means knowing when to stop talking. By the end of part 5, one truth became clear. Yu Menglong's case could no longer be controlled. Not by fans. Not by media. Not by narratives. Only by how people chose to carry it. After the message that divided the world, something remarkable happened. The internet, usually loud and unrelenting, went silent, but not in mourning. It went reflective. People began sharing stories, not about Yu Menglong as a celebrity, but how he had touched their lives in ways no one noticed. A nurse wrote, "I listened to his songs on night shifts. He made me feel less alone." A student typed, "I never met him, but his quiet determination helped me finish my thesis." And a factory worker said, "He reminded me to keep dancing, even when no one was watching." This was the legacy that couldn't be sold, couldn't be marketed, couldn't be packaged. It was living quietly inside millions of people. Fans began leaving notes in unexpected places. Or on buses. Or in cafes. Or along the same streets in Uremy where the procession had passed. The notes weren't about fame or grief. They were personal promises, inspired by Yu Menglong. "I will tell my parents I love them today. I will finish what I started. I will be kinder to strangers." No cameras. No hashtags. Just human connection. Among the thousands of attendees at the final ceremony, some never appeared online. They didn't make videos. They didn't take selfies. They quietly did what he would have wanted. Cleaning the memorial site without recognition. Helping strangers find lost belongings. Planting trees in his memory. One volunteer later admitted, "He didn't need applause. He needed us to be better." This small, silent ripple became the true viral effect, untraceable but profound. While millions argued over messages and recordings, some letters were never published, intentionally kept private by families and friends. They contained, "I hope they remember the quiet parts of life. Not just the noise." These letters remind us that some stories exist only for the hearts meant to receive them, not the eyes meant to watch. Photographers later captured streets of Uremy days after the ceremony. Empty paths. Faded white flowers. People walking slowly, holding hands or their thoughts. No captions. No viral hashtags. Yet viewers described seeing emotion in silence, something cameras rarely capture. "It wasn't staged," one photographer wrote. "It was real grief, real love, real reflection." Stories surfaced worldwide. A teacher in Beijing started a quiet classroom meditation in honor of Yu Menglong. A bus driver in Shanghai began leaving small notes for passengers. A musician in Los Angeles dedicated an unreleased track to human kindness rather than fame. All these acts, small and unseen, echoed his ethos. Influence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's gentle. Fans began referring to this as the quiet legacy movement. The rules were simple. 1. Do something kind without expecting recognition. 2. Reflect before reacting. 3. Carry someone else's story responsibly. No one knew who coined it. No one cared. Because the movement wasn't about recognition, it was about change. Psychologists later confirmed what fans already felt. Our acts of kindness inspired by Yu Menglong reduced anxiety. A quiet reflection increased empathy. A shared grief and promises strengthened community bonds. Even without orchestrated campaigns, his story healed people in ways social media never could. Unlike viral clips, leaked songs, or controversial messages, this legacy cannot be measured. It is felt in quiet mornings, seen in small gestures, experienced in personal transformations. And that is exactly what Yu Menglong wanted. Not spectacle. Not attention. Impact that matters. Yu Menglong's final journey to Uremy was never just a goodbye. It was an invitation. To pause. To reflect. To act kindly without expectation. And it is a reminder that true legacy is never viral, it is eternal in the hearts it touches. While millions watched the live stream of Yu Menglong's farewell procession, one camera stayed in a corner of the square, unmanned and unnoticed. It captured something extraordinary. A people kneeling quietly, brushing dirt off flowers. A young couple holding hands, not looking at the ceremony but at each other. A street cat wandering among the crowds, untouched. No one ever shared this footage. Yet when glimpses leaked later, it stopped hearts worldwide. Among the attendees was the longtime friend Yu Menglong called My Mirror, the one who had remained silent for years. They never spoke publicly. Never waved. Never looked at cameras. But witnesses said. He carried a small box, no flowers, no camera, just a pen and paper. He spent hours writing quietly in the snow. It is said that those notes were placed carefully along the path of the procession, a secret tribute only for those who would notice. We first saw the child placing a crane on the path. But there was more. After the ceremony, volunteers noticed dozens of small cranes tucked in the white flowers, almost invisible. The child had returned under the cover of night, leaving a message. Even when no one watches, love still grows. This moment became a symbol of innocence and continuity, reminding fans that Yu Menglong's journey touched every generation. A violinist had been part of the ceremony but did not perform publicly. Instead, they played softly behind the scenes, near the edges of the crowd, so that only a few could hear. The music. Haunting. Fragile. Full of pauses. Those who heard later described it as a voice Yu Menglong never sang aloud himself. Pure, intimate, and personal. It felt like he was speaking to us directly, said one fan. At one point, a volunteer noticed something subtle but profound. A fan quietly removed trash and discarded flowers along the path. Another placed warm blankets over the chairs for the elderly. And none of it was filmed. These gestures went viral only through word of mouth, reminding the world that even small actions carry monumental meaning. The ceremony officially ended as the sun began to set over Uremy. The sky glowed amber and rose. Shadows stretched across the streets. The crowd began dispersing quietly. But in a small corner, a single beam of sunlight hit a patch of white flowers, illuminating them like a spotlight. Witnesses later described it as nature's own final bow. Many who attended later revealed they heard words that were never captured on camera. A fan whispered to another, "He taught me courage without telling me." A mother whispered to her child, "Even the quietest hearts make the biggest difference." These unrecorded words carried the ceremony's true weight, far beyond what anyone could livestream or upload. The ceremony's hidden moments created a ripple effect. People began noticing small acts of kindness in their own communities. They recorded fewer selfies and listened more closely. They realized the power of showing up, quietly, without fanfare. Yu Menglong's final journey wasn't about spectacle. It was about presence, care, and attention to detail, even when no one watches. While the world saw a grand farewell, only a few glimpsed. Quiet acts of love. Small gestures with monumental meaning. Hidden layers of intention behind every movement. These hidden moments were the true ceremony. Intimate, unforgettable, and deeply human. The impact of these hidden moments on Uremy itself. How fans worldwide responded to these subtle acts. And the first clues of Yu Menglong's unreleased life case. When the final ceremony ended, Uremy woke to a city transformed. Streets were empty, yet somehow heavier with meaning. Faded petals from white flowers littered sidewalks like a soft carpet of memory. Cafes and small shops reported customers quietly placing flowers or notes on tables without explanation. Locals described a strange phenomenon. For the first time in years, the city moved slower, listened more, and smiled differently. "It's like the city itself paused to reflect," said one shop owner. Within days, street artists painted murals of Yu Menglong, not as a celebrity, but as a symbol of kindness. Schools introduced reflection days, encouraging students to perform quiet acts of generosity. A bus drivers began leaving small handwritten notes on seats for passengers, reminding them to smile. The impact wasn't planned. There were no hashtags, no viral campaigns. Just human action inspired by memory. Volunteers who helped during the ceremony were recognized quietly. A people who cleaned the streets after the procession. Are those who guided elderly attendees safely. Are individuals who placed hidden notes and small gifts along the ceremonial route. None sought recognition. Yet their actions spread widely through word of mouth, touching hearts beyond Uremy. Within a week, residents began reporting subtle but noticeable changes. A drivers slowed down, letting pedestrians cross safely. A neighbors checked on each other, sharing tea or conversation. A people recalled forgotten kindnesses, writing letters or messages to friends. I never thought one farewell could shift an entire city's heartbeat, said a local journalist. While Uremy adjusted quietly, the world noticed. Videos and stories from locals went viral. A mural of Yu Menglong appearing overnight in a side street in Uremy reached millions of views. Teachers worldwide shared stories of students inspired to perform random acts of kindness. Musicians reported fans requesting quiet, reflective compositions rather than loud, viral hits. Yu Menglong's influence transcended borders, without speeches, press conferences, or orchestrated campaigns. Those paying close attention noticed small, almost imperceptible signs of the farewell's legacy. Petals tucked into cracks in sidewalks. Notes hidden under benches. Small handmade cranes left along park paths. The city became a living time capsule of reflection, echoing the lessons from the ceremony. A week after the funeral, a local group organized a secret lantern release. Hundreds of small paper lanterns floated into the sky silently. Each lantern had a short message inspired by Yu Menglong's life. No cameras were allowed, no media invited. One participant described the scene. It felt like the stars themselves were listening, acknowledging the good that can be quiet. During this period, a few fans reported glimpsing fragments of Yu Menglong's unpublished writings. Notes from early in his career, revealing struggles never discussed publicly. Sketches hinting at projects he abandoned quietly. Thoughts on mortality, legacy, and kindness. Although incomplete, these fragments hinted at a much deeper personal journey than the public ever saw. By the end of the month, Uremy had subtly shifted. Streets were quieter, yet fuller of life. People lingered in cafes and parks, talking, reflecting. Strangers helped each other spontaneously. Yu Menglong's influence had infected the city with introspection and care, a living monument far more enduring than any physical memorial. Months after the farewell ceremony, a collection of unreleased recordings surfaced. Unlike the song and the short audio files that leaked earlier, these were full, personal messages recorded by Yu Menglong over the last years of his life. Some were reflections on daily life. Others were conversations with himself, philosophical and poetic. A few were addressed directly to friends, revealing private struggles and insights. Fans and experts alike were stunned. This was the first time anyone heard Yu Menglong's unfiltered voice. One of Yu Menglong's closest friends, the one who had stayed in the shadows during the farewell, broke silence for the first time. He never wanted sympathy. He didn't want to be remembered for tragedy. He wanted us to see the ordinary miracles of life. This friend revealed that many recordings were meant not for the public, but for guidance. If people hear them, I hope they don't focus on me. Focus on what he taught quietly: courage, honesty, and presence. The first of the new recordings started simply. Some days feel heavy, but the weight isn't mine alone. It belongs to anyone who thinks they're carrying it silently. Listeners were struck by the intimacy and empathy in his tone. Psychologists later explained that people felt seen and acknowledged through this recording. Millions reported crying, reflecting, and sharing moments with strangers online. Following the release, friends, collaborators, and people from Yu Menglong's early career began posting memories. A co-star described a day when you comforted a nervous crew member in silence. A director revealed he refused major roles to stay true to projects he cared about. A mentor shared that you once left a personal note for them that read, "Success without reflection is just noise." Together, these accounts revealed a man of profound thought and quiet influence, far more complex than public perception allowed. One recording gained particular attention: the night before his final journey to Uremy. The file begins with faint breathing. Then Yu Menglong speaks, barely above a whisper. I want them to see that endings don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper. Fans called it hauntingly beautiful, and it instantly became a focal point for discussions about mortality, legacy, and human connection. From the recordings and friends' accounts, several lessons emerged. 1. Silence has power. The quiet moments teach more than the loudest applause. 2. Kindness is contagious. Small gestures ripple further than expected. 3. Legacy is intentional. It isn't fame or recognition, but the lives touched quietly. Fans and communities worldwide began mirroring these lessons in everyday life, helping strangers, reflecting before acting, and valuing presence over performance. Some recordings hinted at projects Yu Menglong never released. A novel draft about ordinary people finding courage in quiet acts. A series of reflective poems about cities, life, and memory. Sketches for a personal documentary, meant for a private audience. Experts suggested that these materials could become cultural treasures, offering insights into his mind beyond his public persona. The combination of recordings and friends' revelations produced a unique global phenomenon. Millions reported healing from grief. Some fans reconciled with estranged family members. Others found the courage to pursue dreams they had postponed. Yu Menglong's influence, though posthumous, transformed human behavior quietly but profoundly. This part unveiled Yu Menglong's hidden personal depth. The friends and collaborators who witnessed his quiet life. Recordings that teach, console, and inspire. A global community embracing reflection, kindness, and presence. His final journey wasn't just a ceremony, it became a living, ongoing case.